I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use.
Should we be worried when we start to see celebrities do this?
Dropped a bombshell. At 70 years old, she announced she's leaving CBS this morning. And within 24 hours, she made 3 shocking moves that have everyone talking. First, she sold her New York City apartment worth around $4.5 million. That place had been her home base for nearly a decade. Selling it means she's cutting ties with her old routine and opening the door to a totally new chapter. Word is, she's eyeing a cozy country home to finally slow down and enjoy life. Second, she cashed out roughly $5 million in stocks and assets. Gayle said it's all about freedom. No more financial pressure.
Because what I'm seeing is not a person who said, I have worked so many years, but what I'm seeing is a person who said, I need to get out before something serious happens here in New York, and I need to get away from this city as fast as I can, pull money out of the bank, turn bonds into cash, because things are going digital, and they know what's about to hit.
Yeah, so this is Proverbs chapter 9 verse 17. Because Gayle and Oprah, they're like a they're like a kiss ass to the elite. And that's how they go. And then that's how they get down. So stolen waters, right? Being they get the information, certain information that they get, they're not gonna come tell you, right? Are sweet, right? They get the information, insider trading. They do all these different things so they can live a certain life. Black boule. They know what's going on. They know the games that are played. But their whole thing is that if you can't beat them, join them. And not to mention the so-called black woman is Esau's pet bull, and you've seen what happened with her and R. Kelly. He should have never did that the interview with Gayle, because everything was fine until he did the interview with Gayle, and automatically he became enemy number one. He was already guilty in the eyes and the mind of so-called black women, right? And that's just how it is. They'll eat you alive. But meanwhile, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant, right? Going into, they got their backdoor deals with the elite and all these other different things, right? So they're good with keeping Esau's secret. What was that? The Edomite dude who got caught up in that some type of sex scandal, and Oprah had nothing to say. Meanwhile, Gayle is putting R. Kelly on the thing, and you never said nothing about Oprah's friend, and no one's put him in prison yet. I don't think the dude still ain't went to prison, right? But you could throw R. Kelly, you could throw Diddy, you could throw Bill Cosby, bro. Bill Cosby over something that happened 30 some odd years ago. I'm surprised he just didn't get up there and play dumb, right? Which it wouldn't be far-fetched. It's 30 years ago. You mean you're going to put me on for 30 years ago? But that's the reason why the Lord is going to put you on trial, right? And going to be this. Oh, but that was so long ago. Nah, you remember when you put Bill Cosby on for something that happened 30? Nah, we don't want to hear no more if that was a long time ago, right? Because these are things that with the elite. So this is Judith chapter 2, which is in the Apocrypha. And I'm just using it as a reference, even though this is talking about the Syrian king Dinos, or whatever, however you say it. But just using this as a thing, showing this is what's been going on for years, right? So he called unto him all his officers and all his nobles, because this is what the elites are doing now, right? And communicated with them, right? some stuff is going on, but they communicate within themselves. The average everyday Joe ain't getting the insight when they do the insider trading, when they're doing these different things, the way they're maneuvering things, right? You ain't been told what's going on, right? Whoever told those people not to go into the Twin Towers that day, someone communicated with them, right? We know that's the powers that be, the shadow government, the one who actually run the world, who told those certain type of people not to show up, and they didn't show up to work, right? How amazing is that? Because they communicated with them, his secret what? Counsel. That's what they had. And that's what they still have. Like she said, something could be going on. That's kind of crazy, and that's very observative of her. See that something could be happening, not, and concluded the affliction, right, of the whole earth out of his mouth, out of his whole out afflicting of the whole earth out of his own mouth. Yeah, right. And that's what the elite is preparing. They're preparing to afflict the whole entire earth via what she just said. These everything's about to get ready to go digital, and that's going to afflict the whole entire world, right? That's going to affect the whole entire world. Then they decreed to destroy all flesh that did not obey the commandment out of his mouth. And that's what's about to happen. Anybody who ain't getting down with the Novos Ordo Seclorum, the micro C-hip, the MOTB, you are going to be destroyed. Which they pretty much plan on doing that anyway. That's part of the plans of the elite, knocking the population down to 500 million people. So they plan on killing, because there's 8 billion people on the planet right now. So they're talking about killing about at least 7 billion, 7.5 billion people to only leave that 500 million or whatever, right? Or even a little less than, a little more than half of 7 million, right? But roughly, you're roughly just saying, just giving a number, so you kind of understand. They literally want to kill pretty much the entire planet. That's their plan, right? Have a relationship with Yahawah BaHaSham Yahawashi, right? Because right here it says Psalms 64:2, hide me, right? Who's going to hide you? The Most High. Hide me from the secret council, right? Because their plan is to kill pretty much majority of the people, only leave 500 million people on the planet, start the new world, right? And then control it through that way, right? I mean, even most of those soldiers, they don't even, right? While they're about to get ready to do the biddings of all the elite, they don't even plan on having you, because you got to think, if you're not unless they're going to say, hey, kill, and then what's going to be left is just the soldiers or something. I don't even think they plan on it being the soldiers left. So, maybe a small part of the soldiers, so they can, police the rest of the people. But once they get that, they're going to need most of your military. They're going to need that. Hide me from the secret council of the wicked, from the insurrection, and say that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to cause, right? An insurrection, right? And the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, right? And this is going to be an affliction to the people, bringing in that matter of fact, that Novos Ordo Seclorum micro C-hip MOTB, right? Okay, so this is the Psalm 64:2 transliteration. Transliterate. Come down here. Insurrection.
Strong's H7285. Regesh. Second entry. Rigsha.
Yeah, rickshaw. Right? Throne, yep. Throne, in company, throne. I have to look up that. Yeah. Throne, yeah. To be in a tumult or commotion, right? Fighting, right? To conspire. That's what they're doing. Which where you get the word what? Conspiracy, right? A plot. That's what they're doing. Right? But they'll tell you there's no such, those are just conspiracy theories. It's just a theory, it's just a made up thing. You know, those are those conspiracy, but hey, that's what they're doing. And it's going to cause what? A tumult. A commotion. Right? Once they push that. Let me see. Fucking throng. Yeah, like a throng is like a fight, huh? Oh, they ain't going into the, because normally when you hit that, it'll go into, yeah, let's go to the dictionary.
Throng.
To throng, a large
Throng.
Throng, yeah. A large, densely packed crowd of people or animals, which that's what they think you are anyway. Goyim, right? Animals, right? Crowd, multitude, host, mob. Yeah. So basically, that's what it is, and it's gonna bring a people protesting. Things are gonna happen. Some type of event's gonna happen. No, false flag event or actual real event, right? It's gonna bring in something to happen. Yeah. So, yeah. To get back in, so insurrection. So that's what it is. Crowd of people, things where there's a false flag or something actual legitimate happen, right? Because they're never gonna let a crisis go to waste, right? They're gonna use it of workers of iniquity, right? And to use the micro C hip, to basically bring in control for the Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? To to have the ability to enforce their laws, right? Their laws and their statutes, right? Because that's ultimately what it is, right? Via AI, digital, right? Who wet their tongue like swords, right? Because that's what they're doing, having these councils. Okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna make these moves. Oh yeah, let's tell our secret, our people who's close to us, or people who's loyal. We'll let them know, like Gayle, probably Oprah most likely, because that's how Gayle knows. Because Oprah's in with the in crowd, right? Meanwhile, because she won't say nothing negative about an Edomite, even if he's known to be a pedo or anything, a real sexual deviant. She has nothing to say, right? Why? Meanwhile, they speak against the people, right? Especially you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, right? But really, all the people, right? You're all in categories, right? As the scriptures go into, when you break down, when you go into these words of it wasn't devil, but it goes into the word devil or deceiver, right? Deceiver meaning devil, but it also means categorial, right? Categorize, and they got all you citizens via no matter what type of citizen you are in categories, and you're all enemies of the state, whether you know it or not, right? And wet their tongues like like a sword, right? And the sword is when you wet, especially when it's you take a water with a what's it called, a sharpening rock, and you can sharpen it without the water, but the water makes it a lot sharper because it allows that the excess metals when it's shaven to kind of just wash through, and it makes a far more sharper knife, far more sharper sword, right? Which that's what they're doing. It's a thing. If you don't know about the jade helm, which it probably don't come up the way it used to, but it was a series of tests of how they can lock down cities, right? And they'll probably tell you it's BS, or it's a what do they call it? Um, urban legend. They'll say, oh, it's just an urban legend, right? Matter of fact, I might look and see if it says that. It says and bend their swords, their guns. They have the weapons, their guns, because they're preparing the military for this great insurrection, for the people to be out there. No, we're not doing it. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. We're not gonna do that. We're not taking your mark of the beep, 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 beep. Right? We ain't taking the MOTB. No justice, no peace. We ain't taking your MOTB. Right? Something like that. Going into the chants, the taunting proverbs that people are gonna have against you. Their bows, like they're bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, right? And that's part of them being the devil, deceiver. They're gonna falsely accuse, and now they can come in with the military. Oh, yep, caught you red. Yep, you're a T word. You're a domestic T word, right? That they may shoot in secret at the perfect, right? And that's this whole ICE thing, starting with ICE, and that's kind of secretly, whether you know it or not, it's against the Israelites. But hey, some of you so-called white people, some of you are actually Israel. You may not know it, but down in your line, you've been mixed, and you came out so-called white looking, but there were Jakes that were they passed for so-called white, and when they intermingled into the white community, though they passed for white, they mingled, and you're thinking that was at least 70 years, 80 years ago, 100 years ago. How many generations go down the line? You think you're white, but really you're an Israelite, right? Which Apostle Hart speaks about that, about the Bible Belt. A lot of them are Israelites. That's why they're so into the Bible. They don't know why they're so in tune. They just think I'm just a good old boy, and I live my Bible and my guns. No, you're an actual Israelite. But a lot of them are actually Edomites too. So the Lord's about to use this Edomite to sort it all out, so to speak, right? We're gonna see. People gonna have a change of heart. They're gonna have to faith is gonna have to be the persevere in life. Shoot at the perfect. Suddenly, do they shoot at him and fear not? Right, which they should. We're the Israelites. They should fear, but they don't fear because their thing is to push their agenda going, right? Because they encourage themselves, right, through the Palantir, through their newly advanced weapons, the laser guns, right? Not just ones that's on the back of vehicles, because they show the big laser guns they have that's on the back of vehicles, but now they have some that they can tote around, they can move around. It ain't just in the medical field, where they can do surgery and do a laser and use the surgery, right? No, they can use lasers to actually shoot you. They can bring out their microwave guns and whatever else. Their robot dogs and the drones that can shoot automatic weapons and shoot off little small missiles, right? Scud missiles and things right off the drones, right? So they encourage themselves in an evil manner. Like, yes, our enterprise is there. We're gonna make it. We're gonna do it. Or it says they commune of laying snares privily, and so they're doing it different laws Trump is just smiling, writing in, oh, another executive order, because it's secretly, privately laying down snares, right? And that's in those executive orders. They say, who shall see us, right? Because they think the Most High don't see them, right? Who gonna judge? We gonna get away with this, so to speak. Right. So this is Job chapter 5, verse 12. He disappointeth, which is talking about the Most High, through his only begotten Son. Disappointeth the devices, right? And that's what the micro C hip is a device, right? And then all the other devices too, right? But the main thing is that micro C hip. That's what's the ultimate snare, right? To grip the whole entire habited earth of the crafty, right? So that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, right? This is an AI overview. I put the phrase, but they said the phrase is not directly on the dollar bill, but you're likely thinking of annuits coeptus, right? That's what I was trying to go into. The Latin monto on the Great Seal, found on the dollar bill, right? The US dollar. That means he, talking about God, but he ain't talking about our God, he's talking about Satan, has favored our undertaking, signifying divine approval for America's new, right? New, novos ordos seclorum, the new normal, let's just say it that way, right? Venture, often linked to the Star Trek term, my enterprise is a success, which ultimately that's what it means, right? That's why people refer to that, because when it says he favored our undertakings, that's basically what it is. They're talking about their enterprise, their system. So our undertakings, right? But yeah, but basically that's what it means. That's why it's often confused for that, because it's pretty much just what it's saying. Their enterprise, right? Yeah. So I just went ahead and did look it up. Undertaking, a formal pledge, right? Promise to do something, right? Which that's what it says on the back of the dollar bill too. Novos ordo seclorum, which means new order, new world order, or new how do you say it? Novos, new. A new order, basically. That's to keep it simple. A new order, right? So, but basically saying he favored our promise to do it. A pledge, agreement, promise, oath, right? Covenant. So that's basically what it's saying, right? Yeah. So their enterprise, right? Their agreement, their things for the Novus Ordo Seclorum. You know what I'm saying? He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, which is talking about the Most High through his only begotten Son. He's gonna destroy him, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong, right? You're gonna get destroyed head first, right? Because that's what they're doing. They're jumping it, you don't test the water. That most people, they'll touch their foot, you kind of put your hand, you test the waters. But this is where this dude, you're not even, you just jumped on it. You're going to go head first, right, into destruction, right? They meet with darkness in the day, right? And that's part of them, that the so-called Illuminati. Again, who seeth us, right? That's the Illuminati. That's what that is. And who seeth us? Who knows what we're doing? We're the Illuminati. We're doing secret shadow government stuff. We're going to lay down snares privily, right? We're going to have secret things, and we're going to tell our people, yeah, take all your money out because something's going to happen, right? Which, you know what I mean? They meet with darkness in the noontime, in the daytime, and gropeth in the noonday as in night, right? Because they don't have no true vision. You know what I mean? Their vision is to bring in the Novus Ordo Seclorum, but they don't have a true vision because it's not aligned with the Most High, right? Yeah, but he saveth the poor from the sword, right? And he asked that. That's what King David asked. Save me from from the wicked, right? Keep me from the secret counsel of the wicked, which is thy sword, right? But he just saved me from the secret counsel of the wicked. But he saveth, which is the Most High, through his only begotten Son, saveth the poor, which is the elect, from the sword, which is Esau, from their mouth, right? The sword of their mouth, right? Their, all these different plans that they have, from the insurrection, from the hands of the mighty, right? They have their military and all their might, right? And they basically got everything in position right where they needed to be at. They're ready to push that's why they're finna do it this next year. That's why the Prime Minister of the UK said you have to have the digital ID. You cannot work, you can't do anything unless you have the digital ID, which they're going to be pushing that in America soon, sooner than you think. You're going to have the digital ID in order to work, right? Which is one step closer to the MOTB, to them actually putting the micro chip within you in the fullness of their sufficiency. He, which is Yahawashi, through the power of his Father, right? Because the Most High is going to set him up to judge this world, shall be in straits, right? And he's going to be in straits. How? Right? Because he's going to be afflicting the poor. He's going to afflict the people with this thing, which that's what they plan on. They plan on it happening that way. And what happens is he should be in straits, and every hand of the wicked, right, shall come upon him, right? Which came here, blue letter, same verse, transliterate, right? Which come here to get a little transliteration popping. What was I thinking about? Oh, wicked. Yeah, the wicked. Amal, right? I think they said different.
Strong's H 6001. A male.
Yeah, Amal. Yeah, Amal. Right. Yeah. So the wicked, it's not wicked like you think, like, bad demons, this and that. The wicked is talking about you, which kind of goes into that whole thing of them setting up setting up everything. So there's an insurrection. So when that insurrection happens, which they plan on that happening, right? Insurrection meaning a crowd of people, a gathering of people, right? For that insurrection, for that tumult, right? And that gives them a reason to set things up, whether it's a false flag or whatever it may be a real event, and say, well, this, and that, and this is why we have to do, and this is why we need to push the digital ID, and they're gonna push, and they're gonna show you how the rest of the world has the digital ID, and if the rest of the world do it, shouldn't we join along with everything else that's going on in the world? We're gonna be left behind, right? This is their logic, right, behind everything. And people go, well, we don't want to get left. Well, you're already behind, right? And then what you're doing over here should have nothing to do with whatever the hell they're doing over there, right? If you're going to trade with us. If not, we need to find our own. But you can't do that when you got a president putting tariffs on everybody, even our close allies, right? You should be like, forget them. We don't need you. And they build up factories in Canada and pay them a decent little price, or you build up in Mexico, and then that'll solve a lot of your immigrant problem coming over here into Mexico, and then you can get it for a cheap price. Because if they're willing to come over here for little to nothing, why wouldn't they stay at home for a little to nothing, as long as they can afford to take care of their family? And that's what most people want. Unlike the elite, they're just too greedy, right? But that's what's going to happen. It's just the laborers, the sufferers, because that's what we're doing. We're suffering under Esau, man, right? The wretched ones, laborers, workmen, right? sufferers, right? Yeah, we got the suffer, right? Misery, right? Yeah. Taker, yeah, you gotta you know, you gotta take the bull BS as it go. You gotta roll the dice every day and just go another mundane day and this and that. And you gotta find a way to be happy in BS, right? But it says laborer, toilers, labors, right? So the hands of the wicked, right, will be upon them, right? Which that same thing with the insurrection. The people out there are gonna be chanting, they're gonna be protesting, right? Meanwhile, you know, they're gonna be running like rats. Which that's another thing. A bunch of them rats have been leaving New York too, in droves, right? Yeah. So yeah, this guy, he's a so-called Christian pastor or whatever, but you know, it's a big talk, right? It says, will the Jews eventually leave New York and America, right? And that's a big thing that other people are talking about, right? So this so-called Christian pastor kind of speaks about it a little bit.
Again, the West would be the closest nations to Israel in the West would be Spain.
Oh yeah, and then he talks about a lot of BS that he don't know what he's talking about. The West is speaking about the true Israelites were here in America, which are here in America, Babylon the Great, which are serving their punishment, not someone who owned the slave ships and owned all these different things and did all these different things. And some of them, they don't know nothing about that. They're just regular, what you call them, but it don't matter. Your people ultimately owns all the banking, and they run the world. So, you know, it's not talking about them. It's talking about us, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians coming from the West.
Would be France, would be the UK. Now, the UK has Muslim leaders, and you see Muslims praying in the streets. So there are Jews that have been discussing leaving the UK because they feel like that there's a large rise of anti-Semitism coming in parts of Europe, and especially in Western Europe. France is included in that group of Jewish people. Some now, not all, some that have talked about leaving. What would force the Jews, however, in America, let's say New York City, where the predominant number of Jews live, to leave the city and go to Israel? Now, I'm going to just share with you some of the things that I have discussed with Jewish people. First of all would be the leadership, who is in charge of the city. If anti-Semitism begins to rise very heavy and Jews begin to be attacked in the area of New York City and the vicinity there, then it would cause many of them to say, you know what, it's not safe for us to live here anymore. Now, a lot of people say that would never happen in America. It's already happening in our universities in America. So don't say it can't happen here, because people's heart is where the problem is. It's a spiritual heart problem. Number two is the high rise of taxes. This would not be just the Jewish people. These would be business people that would actually leave the state, but that wouldn't necessarily mean if they leave the state and go to Florida, Texas, or Tennessee because of high taxes, that doesn't mean they've left America. God says, I will bring them from the west in several prophecies. So this has to happen. Jews have returned from the north and the south and the east, but most of them have stayed where they are in the west. So persecution by other groups, including other religious groups, could cause some, not all of course, but some, to leave from the west. Then there could be an economic collapse, and this is probably a very high probability. With the introduction of artificial intelligence and with what we see taking place in the nations with job losses, which are going to be horrendous by 2028 to 2030, a huge economic collapse that could come to the economic center of the world, which, by the way, is New York City and Wall Street, could cause many of the Jewish people to leave. The third thing that could cause many of the Jewish people to leave from New York,
which, yeah, that's their own people doing that, the elites. But hey, they plan on wiping out a lot of the planet, even them, right? You're not off the chopping block. They only want a certain amount of people to survive. They want only a certain amount of things to happen, and even then, the regular average so-called Jewish person who's just think he's doing the right thing, hey, they don't care about that. If you're not in with the people who they want to carry on in the new world, you're done. That's why they're bringing in the AI, collapsing the dollar, right? It's going to affect everyone in the world. Right here, like it's another channel. It says massive exodus out of New York. So speaking about them, they're leaving New York, right?
Do you feel a change in New York, New Jersey Jewry
Do you feel a change through Mamdani and the other stuff that you cover? Do you feel it in the streets? Do you think there's a change? Do you think that change will have economic or lifestyle decisions and changes that are going to affect, like, in simple terms, do you think that people will be buying property in Israel, or going down to Florida? Do you think that things are going to be really changing? Or do you think it's just a blip and it keeps going because it's too big to change, and life goes on? I'm generally a cautiously optimistic person by nature, but... Which one is optimism in this case? Well, yeah, I think the October 8th moment for all Jews in the diaspora keeps sort of reigniting, with what we saw first in the...
Yeah, he gonna start ducking the question. And not just go into what needs to be said. Right, so this is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him? See, going back into that insurrection, being a crowd of people, going back to Job, basically being the wicked, Amal, basically being the hands of the wicked, the laborers, the workers, and the workers are going to take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb, which is basically, like I said, it's kind of like a song, a chant. People are going to be protesting. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. I'm not taking no micro C-hip. You took our jobs. Give our jobs back. Down with AI. Up with the real, with the living. All right? Down with AI. Up with the living. Give us our jobs. Give me justice. Give me peace. All right? Well, all these victims, because ultimately that's what you are. You're all a victim of this system, right? When they say that it's a democracy, they say it's this and it's freedom. You never really truly have freedom. They set you up for failure, right? Put you in as debt slaves, set you up for debt, because this whole thing is just all about debt. In order for you to buy, you got to go in debt to buy something. So we're all in debt. I mean, some deeper than others, but it don't matter. It's debt is debt, which is not good, right? You're victims of his greed, of Esau Edom's greed, right? The elite's greed. And that's what they plan to do. They plan to have their enterprise, their to be a success. Their I guess it's really their oath, right? That they set, which is on the dollar bill, which also Novus Ordo Seclorum is on the dollar bill, which that's part of the oath that they're making to bring forth that, right? A new order, right? And there's nothing like bringing in a digital all, right? To see who wants to be his slave. Take up a parable against him, right? A song, right? And that's basically what it is. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Down with the AI, up with real life. All right? Because even now you call these different places, and it's AI as a machine. I called one place today, and it made it seem like they try to even make it seem like it was a real person. Like, how you call, and it'd be like a call center, and you could hear people in the background. It's like a call center. They made the AI thing sound like there were people in the background, like it was a call center, so it sounded like a real person, until I couldn't answer a thing, and I froze, and then it just repeated itself. And I was like, oh, this is a machine. But it sounded like it was real people, because it had like the sound of people in the background, like it was like like it was a real person, right? Until I couldn't answer, and it malfunctioned, so to speak. It just kept repeating the same. I was like, oh, this is AI. And that's what they're doing. Artificial intelligence, through their greed. And that's what people are going to take up, a taunting song against him, in a mocking derision against him, saying, woe, judgment is coming to him who increases that which is not his. How long will he possess it, right? Which is talking about the world, the rulership of the world, right? The wicked who control the world. And woe, which means judgment, right? To him that maketh himself wealthy with loans, right? Which giving you loans, which puts you in debt, makes him wealthy, right? And they're doing a great welfare, not welfare, but wealth transfer, right? To put you in a welfare state, right? Because that's ultimately what the basic social credit score is. It's going to put you in a welfare state. You know, in the beginning, it might seem pretty cool. What, I get $2,000 and just sit at home? But even then, people were getting restless, even under the CV19. You're like, ah, man, what do you mean? Stay at the house, stay in the house, stay at home? Nah, we can't do that, right? But they figure people will get restless. That's why they thought about the 15-minute cities. So you at least still get to come out. So you basically you're in a digital prison, and you get to come out for 15 minutes, like a child, right? We'll give you 15 minutes to play. You got 15 minutes to get to work and get back home. You got 15 minutes to go to your church or whatever you believe in, and you better get back home. You got to go to the doctors. You got to go to whatever you got to go to. You're going to have 15 minutes to go there. And I need you back at home. Right? This is the mindset of the elite, which this is why that rain is going through Oregon and Washington and Oregon and into California, wash them out of their thing, then come in and say, oh, you know what? By the way, we'll build this back up and we'll buy out this land and we'll build it up and we're going to have these 15-minute cities here. Right? Because you lost everything. Some people, you wasn't prepared for that. I mean, because say you even had your house deed in the house, and that thing washes everything away, wash the house right along with your house deed. You have no way to prove that you own that land or the place, and it's all washed away. Or you have these things where, hey, even the banks are jacking people, right? That one Edomite came on there and said, look, they went into my bank, took everything out of the safe deposit boxes. That's supposed to be like the safest thing in the bank. They said the bank went in there and took it, and they're supposed to refund them. They guess the thing. They have that insurance, but they only cover 100. But he had stuff in there worth way far more than the $100,000 that they're gonna give him, right? Just like the dude who lost the 10 million, hit 10 million in his bank, and they're just gonna pay him that little $100,000 that the bank gives you if something happens. But they had all the intention that this type of thing was gonna happen, right? Who make themselves wealthy with loans, right? To put you in debt, student loans, car loans, house loans, debt, right? Where am I at? Yeah. Proverb against him, and a taunting proverb, which means song, no justice, no peace, right? Down with the AI, up with real life. You're gonna come up with something. I don't know. Against him, and woe, which means judgment. We know that to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long will he layeth himself with thick clay, right? And transliterate when going to the Hebrew, or what they call Hebrew, but it's still gonna give you a better understanding. And when you go into it, it's a weight of a pledge, which is kind of like a pawn shop. When you pawn your, right here it says pawn goods. So it's like that, which when you pawn something, it puts you in what? In debt. Because not only did you have the money you owe them, you still have to buy your item back also as well. So, and then you also get interest, right? So you're in debt. You got to go get in debt to pay off a debt, to get in debt to pay off a debt, and that's how they make themselves wealthy with loans, right? But you people are too simple-minded to see it. And then it says a heavy debt, right? Even if you go into the etymology, go deeper, to pledge, to take a pledge, to pledge, to give a pledge for a debt. And that's all they're doing. And everything's a debt system, right? Yeah, to interchange what debt? Give a pledge, right? They're going to interchange you for item, for debt. Then the next thing is to put it in a micro C-hip, right? So this is Amos chapter 9, verse 1. It says God, which really his name is Yahawah, to his only begotten son, which is Yahawashi, right? Which are two separate entities, right? Right along with the Holy Spirit. Yahawah BaHaSham Yahawashi, they're not God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and they're all one and all this other stuff. The Trinity, that doesn't exist. God the Father and God the Son are two different entities, and then the Holy Spirit being, the spirit that makes things happen, which are basically the angels. The Lord commands and the angel make things happen. That's the spirit. The spirit of the Lord moves through the angels, right? Makes it a reality, right? He goes and speaks to the angel, tells the angel do this, this, and that, and then the angels make it a reality. That's the spirit of the Lord, right? And of course, the Lord's spirit is in everything too. So, I mean, nothing happens without his authority, So, without his known. But it says, and I saw the Lord stand upon the altar, which would be Yahawashi, because he's going to send his son. And I saw in a vision the Lord standing at the altar, and he said, destroy the capitals top, right? Which capitals, right? Being
Strong's H 3730.
Kaftor. Oh no, it's a capital of a pillar, right? Capital of I like that one because the rest of this is like, but a pillar, right? Which means something to stand it up. It's the firm, which talk like New York, right? It'll be the pillar of the economy, right? Wall Street, right? The dollar collapse, right? The top of the pillars. Oh yeah, right. That the threshold will shake and break them on the heads of all the people, right? And then it's gonna affect everybody. Once the dollar collapse, everything collapses. The system's gonna collapse, and it's gonna break. It's gonna be upon all the heads of the people with the debt, right? The bot yacht, the debt, right? The heavy debt. It's gonna affect everybody. People are gonna lose their minds because they, when people have nothing to lose, they're definitely gonna lose it, right? On the head of the people, and then will I kill the rest of them? So people are gonna be fighting, war, this, that, and people are gonna get into actually, killing each other, and I will kill the rest of them with the sword. They will not have a fugitive who will get away, right? So people are going to be fighting this, that, and so that goes into what them being, what's it called, a vagabond, right? Because they're always moving, traveling, going to different places, and this time they're going to be trying to escape like a fugitive, right? But they're going to go into their bunkers or whatever, and they're not gonna escape this time. They're going to basically lock themselves in. Well, I used to work at a prison, and sometimes when things come, you'll see an inmate just going in, he'll lock himself down. And that's ultimately what the elite is get ready to do. They're just going to know that it's going to be that time. They're going to go into their bunkers and think they're going to lock themselves down, right? Not have a fugitive who will get away or survive, who will escape, man. And no one's going to escape from the Most High, right? Because they're going to run away from this and that, trying to run away from their problems, try to fly back to Israel and this, and they're going to do all these different things. But hey, the Lord is going to put one hell of a judgment within the world, but especially on Babylon, which is America, and on Israel, right? Because they're so in cahoots with each other, right? It says smite the altar, and he said smite the lintel, the linter linter of the door, that the post may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that flee of them shall not flee away. He that escape of them shall not be delivered, right? So they thinking, run into these bunkers are going to deliver them. And though they dig into hell, right? Which these bunkers, right? Hell is not a place you burn in the ground forever, right? Because you don't dig into hell to escape, right? Because if it's a place you're gonna burn forever, you're not gonna dig into hell to get away from something, right? No, it's talking about underground bunkers. Hell is just a hole in the ground, but they dug it and made they $1 million bunkers, $1 billion bunkers. You can type it in Google, type it in YouTube, and you'll see the $1 million, $1 billion bunkers that they've been building for the last 10 years or so, right? They've been building this for the last 10 years, bunkers, because they know what time what's coming upon them. They know what time they're living in, right? Though they dig into hell, thence will my hand, right, which are the angels, starting with the elect, take them, though they climb up to heaven, right? They have the internet, their space stations in outer space. They got this thing, they got the Space Force, all this other stuff that that they're preparing to fight against Yahawashi, trying to find some type of safety and salvation for themselves. Thence will I bring them down, right? And there's going to be a time where the Lord's going to take them out of those bunkers, right? Yeah, right here it says, then though they dig into Sheol, and if you go into the word Sheol, it just basically means the grave. It's like a ground, a hole in the ground. That's what a grave is, right? Sheol.
Strong's H 7585. Sheol. Sheol.
Yeah, Sheol.
And second entry, Sheol. Sheol.
I think Apostle also supposed to say Shawawal. That's how you said it in the Paleo Hebrew. Shawawal. I believe it. Don't quote me, but I think it's Shawawal. And but Sheol still lets you know, because there's no such thing as an underworld, so it's not an underworld, but it is a grave, hell, a pit, right? A hole in the wall, a hole in the dirt, right? That's all it is. It's a pit. Borrower, yeah, because that's true too. Borrower, beg, right? Because that's another way of saying hell too. Because when you're a borrower, you're in hell. You're in debt. You're in hell. But this is different. This is a different hell. I don't know why they put that with that, but it is a form of hell. When you're borrowing, you're in hell because it puts you in debt. But this they're gonna go to a different hell, which is the pit, right? They're bunkers, underground bunkers, right? It says into the deepest pits, from whence my hand, right? See, will take them from for judgment. See, so once they're in there, and after everything is all said and done, everything the Lord fights and destroy these armies and these militaries around the world, and go back into those bunkers where they're at, where they think they're safe, their $1 million, $1 billion bunkers, and take them out, put them into slavery. Though they climb up to heaven, right, in these space stations, thinking they're being protected by the Space Force, but the Space Force is going to get destroyed by Michael and the angels, right? To hide them, to hide the remnant, to hide, the realm, to hide the realm of the light, right? From there will I bring them down for judgment, right? And then it kind of goes into more, because they have their like that Cheyenne Mountains. They got the mountains, Carmel, right? It says though they hide themselves on the summit, right? The Cheyenne Mountains, right? It's the top of the mountain, this mountain, because that'd be the top mountain of a Mount Carmel, right? Which is talking about a mountain like the Cheyenne Mountains. Which that's what they said. Trump is going to be getting ready to start reporting from, right? If things really get bad, every day he's gonna be reporting. He's gonna do his live streams and whatever from the Cheyenne Mountains, so he's safe, right? And that's what they're gonna do. The top of Carmel, though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out. See, thence, and then though they hide themselves from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them, which of course that's you know, the true Godzilla, which is goddamn, why did I draw a blank? Um, Leviathan. Yeah, I drew a blank. Leviathan, right? True Godzilla, which is Leviathan. That's what I bring. Yeah, top of mount, which talking about a mountain. I will track them down, right? We're gonna hunt them down. We're gonna hunt them down, track them down, and take them from there. And though they hide themselves from my sight on the floor of the sea, right down, got their underwater bunkers. There, I shall command the serpent, and it will bite them, right? Right, which is Leviathan. So they're all trying to run from something, right? Whether you run from New York over back into Israel, which Israel is going to get, you know, people, Iran, Iraq, Russia, and North Korea. They're gonna shoot missiles at Israel, right? And that Iron Dome ain't gonna protect them. They're all gonna shoot missiles at America, and America's system ain't gonna protect them. America will become a lake of fire and turn into a desert, and Israel will, you know, basically get cleansed up and then built back up, and then Yahawashi will be ruling from that land after it's cleaned up and putting those Edomites and these other nations into hardcore bondage to clean up everything and put forth the kingdom of heaven, right? And with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahawah BaHaSham Yahawashi BaHaSham Rawchaa HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect. Hey, shalom to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to your sisters, your Achwathiim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence and above all, Kwam Yasharallah.